symbol, like just like the Avengers. It's the Man in the Mirror show, and that's THEE, meaning the meaning is personal. Meaning I'm the man in the mirror, not anyone else. And we got a dynamite show today for you guys. So just buckle up and go for the ride. And please call in and ask any questions to the guests or the panel. But before we get into all that, let me introduce my team. To my left, but she right, is the gorgeous Miss Amy Cakes Allen. You know I can put the cakes in there.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And to my right, the prestigious and one of the hardest working men I know to date, Mr. Rodney Grimes.
Peace and blessings to everybody. And as you know, this is a show that matters.
That's right.
Here we are, people to people. And then guess what? I got to my right, the distinguished Mr. Nate Jenkins.
Hello, family. Hello, family.
Back
in the
Yeah,
building.
much love, my hey. You know how we
from
do.
the sick and shut in. Back on the scene, want to thank everybody for their prayers and everything that went out during my health issues and things. We still fighting, but we here at Man in the Mirror. Now, the guy who started this on this mic here is the illustrious Mr. Boo Jones. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Boo Jones here to my right. All right. Now, today's show, because we're in this political climate, we all about to vote for somebody. I don't care who you vote for, vote. For those who say my vote don't count, it don't count if you don't cast it.
Come on now.
That's right.
All right, speak
If
true.
you don't vote, it don't count.
Yeah.
Simple. But stop listening to people who ain't got your best interests at heart. We do at Man in the Mirror. And we want you to stand in line, mail it, however you got to do it. Stop standing on the sidelines griping about you ain't getting the services you deserve for your little tax dollars and you don't like crime, you don't like this, that, and the third. If you don't like it, change them people at the top who making it happen. So get involved. So today, we got two great folks that are in that whole political machine. In studio, we have Mr. Frederick Hill, who is a candidate for city council in the District of Columbia at large. He's looking to come in as an illustrious businessman and political figure to straighten out that status quo that we've been living under in the DMV.
Absolutely.
And then on the phone, yes, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
And then on the phone, we have the illustrious Miss Danielle Blackwell, who is from Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. She's the first Black female city councilwoman in that region. Okay? And by the way, she was born and raised in D.C.
Right.
Doing her work in native Washington, doing her work in Philly. So we're going to start off by letting each of the guests give us 5 minutes or so who they are, what they're doing, and then we'll open it up to the panel. So since we got Mr. Hill in studio, we'll let Mr. Hill go first.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Fred Hill. I'm running for city council at large in Washington, D.C. As an independent. And that means that anyone on November 8th can vote for me, whether you're Democrat, Republican, state party, Green party, it does not matter. As Nate said, get out and vote and change the future of what you've been experiencing from the past. I come with 25 years of experience as a successful business owner of a multi-million-dollar company in Washington, D.C. I've hired over 500 D.C. employees, D.C. residents, and 180 returning citizens. So I do understand what workforce development looks like. Some of the other things that caused me to do this is because I got sick and tired of watching our current elected officials snowball the people in the city by not telling them the truth and not representing them properly. We have in the district right now, our schools are rated number 41 out of 51 states. We have a very horrible public safety standing right now. And that public safety standing goes to include how not just policing, but it also includes the unaffordable housing that we have in the district right now. Transportation is a part of public safety. And we've seen where the only people seeing the benefit from the development projects that go on, the schooling, things like that, are the people who have money, and it becomes a issue of haves versus a have-not. So I am very well versed in the housing industry. I was a manager for the Department of Housing and Community Development for a number of years, and watched how the current and then elected officials play the same game that they're doing right now, and I seek to change that.
Excellent, excellent.
you.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, Miss Danielle Blackwell on the phone. You want to give us a few minutes of who you are, who you representing, and what you're doing?
Yes, so my name is Danielle Blackwell. I am the 4th District Councilwoman. I am the first elected councilwoman, Black councilwoman, representing the 4th District outside of Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. Now, I am from Southwest Washington, D.C., born and raised down in Southwest Washington. Those little projects down there, I was there, I lived there. But one thing I always knew is that I'm going to get involved. You have to live for something or you live for nothing. You have to strive for something or you would have attained nothing on this earth. We're here on this earth for a limited time, and you have some choices to make. The choices are, do you want to sit back on the sidelines and let somebody dictate to you what's best for you, or do you want to get in the game and say, I have a voice? And in order to have your voice, you have to make sure that you vote. You have to get involved, because if you don't, somebody else is going to vote for you, and they're going to tell you what to do, and everything else behind that will come after that. That includes housing. That includes your streets getting in clean. That includes your taxes. That includes your schools, your education. That includes your police force. It's all entwined together. If you sit back and don't at least say, I voted, regardless of who you vote for, I participated, many people have died in vain. And it's not a shame to say, I want to vote. It's not a shame to say, I want to be involved. Even if you only give 20 minutes of your time, get involved, do something, help out at the school, but make sure you vote, because every election matters. It matters who your elected officials are, because if you don't have nobody fighting and voicing for you, you're stuck, you're on your own. And we're here as elected officials to fight for you. Thank you. If you have any questions of me,
Stay with us, Danielle. We're going to hit you with some bullets in a minute. All right. I just want to make one comment before we pass it around, right?
okay.
Everybody within the sound of our voices and can see us online and all that, if you're eligible, vote. If you're not eligible, become eligible. Find out why. And if you don't know the differences between being eligible, allowed to do it, and ineligible, not allowed to do it, go to your local election offices, right? And find out. It's important, man. And Danielle said people have died. In the South, they used to call it strange fruit to watch people hang from the trees, right? And most of that hanging wasn't a result of people having arguments and disagreements. It was folks trying to get just the basic necessities of life. Self-respect, ownership, being able to govern their own families and households. And they were hung and killed for that. So how dare us walk around with all these freedoms and think we don't have an obligation to participate? But we could sure crowd foul when things don't go our way. You know what I'm saying?
I call that barbershop talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Barbershop talk, we always talk about the issue, what the problem is. But here at Man in the Mirror, we about solutions.
Say that loud, man.
Here at Man in the Mayor, we are about solutions.
Solutions.
And we don't mind, like she was talking about Rodney working hard. Yes, he do. Because we get out there.
Mhm.
We get out in the community. You know, we get out there, and that's why we want to have this platform. That's why we have this platform, because we want to bring these type of issues to the people. Because it's been so long that we just talked about the issues.
And if I could interject, having like Mr. Hill in here to come in on this platform, this is an individual that you're looking at that's coming to the people to hear your voice. So it's important when you got an individual that's not making himself too big or too small, but he's coming to you at every platform to put you in a position to find out what he stands for. And it's individuals like himself that's going to make the difference. When we want to make change, we got to vote people like this into office.
That's right.
And see, we can sit back and we can talk about what happened then, but we got to look at what's happening now.
And Ms. Blackwell, you as well. You know, time
Yes.
is actually money. Nate talks about that all
Yeah,
the time.
time is money,
Time is
baby.
actually resources. So when somebody
Exactly.
take their time and come on, and I believe, you know, this is my belief, and I always say that because I don't want no one to think this is a religious program. This is a spiritual program. But I believe that my life is God guided. So, and I believe that since my life is God guided, and we all here together, and y'all all out there, y'all life is too. How about that? So,
So Ms. Blackwell,
Yes.
so I want to ask you a question because you in Philly, right?
I'm right outside of Philadelphia in Upper Darby. I'm outside of West Philadelphia.
So the reason why I'm really curious is because right now my wife is up there and she's out there canvassing the area for the voting, and
Oh, great. It started, yes.
Yes.
Canvassing is very important. You have to knock those doors. You got to get the people to know you.
yes, ma'am. So that was what I just learned that about how important it is for us to get out and I'm talking about on all levels to talk about voting and how important it is. And as I understand, you saying you're the first Black woman to hold this position that you're in.
Yes, I am. We did a sweep where we knocked doors. We talked to the committee people. It was a team, a whole team. We ran with the county folks, and what we did was we doubled up. So each time one person went out for the team, not only did they go out for me with my literature and knock the doors, they went out for the whole team. So it was a team effort.
That's power.
That's very important.
Yes,
That's
yes.
very important. Did y'all hear-
No
did
man
y'all-
stands
hey,
alone,
hey,
player.
man,
But did you hear what she said?
Definitely had to
That's
not
that
do it
team.
alone.
Yeah, team effort.
Yeah.
You need the team members. You need the support of the team. And when one person is talking, you got to be talking about everybody on your team.
Come on
Promote
now.
the whole team. Because if you don't,
Come
because
on,
this
come
way
on,
you
man.
cover more people by doing that.
See,
Yeah.
hey, I'm glad. See, y'all out there need to hear this because this is a vital thing that we must do. I'm put it like that. We must do it because everybody else do it.
Yeah.
Since us going around talking about the Spanish people stick together, all the Africans came over here, they
Yeah.
stick together.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
They supposed to stick together.
Where the village at?
Yeah.
Where the village
Because
at, Fred?
that's
Yeah.
what's gonna have to
You
happen
know.
for change to come about.
Well, I want to say this, man. You know, the importance of Black votes, right? We see in every metropolitan area gentrification, and we quick to point why it's happening. Oh, the developers that came in
Mhm.
and the elected officials got in the bid with them and all that. But at the bottom of that, that property was owned by us.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna tell you, I can give you some stories about Southeast how
Oh, come on.
on Capitol Hill, there were a lot of homeowners. But when crack hit, them grandparents had to raise them babies because the fathers and mothers was out there using. And then when the grandparents died or got elderly, they sold them homes for the money. They was playing the short
Yeah.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Federal government in the area, like Bird Farms, places like that, you know, Abe Poland used to have a lot of the projects. He owned the land, DC rented it, you dig? And when it came a time for the development to come in and flip it out, we provided no resistance, right, to that at all.
I just had a client, and me and him talking about this today and yesterday. He come from Searching Quarters. and Central Court is part of that's Southwest, right?
Northwest.
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 My bad. Part of Northwest.
Yeah, they tore it down.
I had family member down there.
Mhm.
They left too early. You know my family
Yeah.
down there, left back. They left too early because all the people that was there when they got paid.
Okay.
Now,
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
That's what they do.
Go ahead.
So
Go-
we talking about they sold out. They
Fred, I'm glad you
You
said
said
that
that, 'cause,
because
hey,
Fred got some information,
About
right,
that.
about that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
there was that's a trick.
Because it kept
No, that's a trick.
Yeah,
So, unaffordable housing
unaffordable.
is a thing in every metropolitan area.
right.
Whenever they tear stuff down and build stuff, they make a promise.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let these folk back,
Right.
Yeah,
or you can buy back in,
Right, right.
and all that. But I'm
They
gonna
did
buy
that
you
Eastgate.
out
They did that Eastgate.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But Fred, tell him, Fred.
What people don't realize is that there is a clause in the contracts that spells out that you will, if your term expires after 2 years, then you have to have a new contract. And the new contract requires you to requalify to live in this space, including an income level,
Mm.
the number of people that's going to be in the property.
Fine print now.
Come on
whether
now.
or not you have whether or not you have pets. All of these things are part of that requirement. So when you
Knowing
speak
you ain't gonna do it.
when you speak of Social Quarter, when you speak of Arthur Capers, when you speak of Berry Farms right now, they just had a celebration just yesterday or so. People all out there happy that the development is coming, and I'm happy that it's coming too. But what was said to them is that they're going to be able to come back after the development is finished. Well, remember I said after 2 years, your contract is dead.
You need a new
The
contract.
development won't finish till 2025. What year is it now?
Yeah.
2022
Automatically, we're
3
going to
years.
expire those contracts.
contract. Come on.
Good gosh.
And
Folks
those people
gotta
are
live
not
that.
guaranteed
So they have
to
So-
come
total
back.
control over.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why we have to have people like you in office that are aware
That's
of
right.
these
That's what I was
things.
getting ready to say.
Because when we got people like you in office that's addressing this, now this is for you too, Ms. Blackwell. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens as we see people get in office that they lose the momentum? What is that, that we have to deal with as the voters? Because that's what diffuses a lot of people from wanting to vote.
Yeah.
After we get people in office, they kind of start to backpedaling. And so what do we tell the people out here? What do we have to do to keep supporting when we put you in office, to keep you in a position where you can do the things to help us, like Ms. Blackwell, even in her
Yeah.
position as well?
The first thing
We have to-
is, go ahead, Ms. Blackwell.
People have to show up at the committee meeting.
Okay,
Committee meeting.
there you go.
And that way, the council is held accountable because they know what's going on and what the views are. It's not just waiting until it's time to vote on it. The committee, they're committee meetings, and the committee meetings are always usually posted. So the people have to not just come when it's time to vote, but come to those committee meetings and voice their opinion so that all
Oh,
along
man.
they're there stating what they need and what they want. And
Hey,
they can
Ms.
see what's
Blackwell,
happening during the
excuse
committee meeting.
We had a guy from Alexandria. We from I'm originally from Alexandria, named Lenny Harris. Lenny used to preach the same thing that you're talking about because he used to go down to the meetings and he was saying, "I don't see nobody from the project down the meeting."
Right.
He said, "Don't you
Right.
know you can come in there?
It's open to the
It's
public.
open to the public."
In Washington, D.C., we have what we call the ANC, Area Neighborhood Commissioners. And the ANC are the first line, not of defense, but those are the first line of information that comes to the community to bring the information that there's the idea that there's going to be some development that's going to take place and what type of development. And that's the first opportunity that the community has to say, well, I don't want to see it, or I do want to see it, and here's why. Or if it comes, I wanted to include this and the other. We should have small businesses included in this development project. We should have community folks. In Washington, D.C., when Marion Barry was in office, he established what we call a Section 3 rule. And the Section 3 rule says that with any development project that has city funds going into it, 61% of the workforce must come from that community where the development is taking place.
Man.
This is what built middle class African American families in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we made sure these jobs were not your minimum wage jobs. These jobs provided opportunities for small businesses to grow, and people were able to take care of families.
Mm.
They could get insurance. They
So
could,
what happened?
you know, what happened is you have a change in office, and when you have a change in office,
Change the idea.
they decided to back away from it. They don't hold developers accountable to the deliverables.
But why not? Because they in the pocket.
It could be, but the one thing that we see all too often is that when the council or the mayor or the attorney general don't align with the people's desires, you have to wonder, what is it that makes a person back up? I have a candidate that I'm running against, Anita Bonds, and Anita Bonds has been known to say one thing today in a group of people and go tomorrow right into the council and vote opposite of what she said. But people continue to vote that in the office. And when you keep putting her in, she's the chair of the housing committee. And so also you have Alyssa Silverman and Kenya McDuffie. Those three incumbents are part of the housing committee in the District of Columbia. But all of us have seen for over a year the conditions that so many people are forced to live in.
Like Potomac Gardens.
Like Potomac Gardens just recently.
Uh,
But there have
the
been so many
rats.
others.
Yes.
There have been so many others.
But let me ask you a question.
Mm.
What you just said, right? I'm sorry. I'm
Go
cutting you off right now.
ahead.
But I know that there was $3 million appropriated to rehab Potomac Gardens.
Right.
And
Right.
all they got was new doors on the buildings.
On the outside.
The door on the building.
Come on.
They got new doors.
Just
And you know
doors.
what?
Right?
And
Just
I've actually
doors,
been
but
inside of
the
there
rats, the
recently.
roaches, all of that still there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually been in there like I want to say last year. And it looks like you're walking in jail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's very gloomy, very dingy. So if they put $3 million into something, when was that supposed to happen?
The
Well,
money didn't arrive.
that's your lack of oversight.
right. But I want to go back to something, so I don't want to lose something.
Yeah.
So what you was talking about and we was talking about earlier. So one of the things that us in the public, we have to become a part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to use a little scenario or something. We saw this in Old Town Alexandria. One time I noticed that the dog parks was popping up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying the recreation centers was getting knocked down,
Mm.
but the dog parks was coming up. And I was like, how is it that these things are taking place? But this is when you're talking about when you're not coming out and coming to the meetings and speaking your piece and not becoming aware of what they're doing. And as the situation with the money you're just talking about,
Mhm.
if people are coming in and you are getting into politics and hold people accountable
Yeah.
for their positions,
Yeah.
then you'll know that they won't just end up with doors.
An active example of being involved and making sure that things, your concerns are heard,
Mhm.
was in Washington, D.C. on Connecticut Avenue. There was a shooting at a school. You all remember a few months back. And that school was shut down for 2 weeks. And the reason that school was shut down for 2 weeks is because not only was the ANC commissioner, but the families, the parents of those children were out there saying to the city, no, we're not opening this school. These children have been traumatized. I have been traumatized. We're not opening this school. How in the world did this happen? And all of these questions came
Right.
about. Within a week, there was a shooting right outside of a Northeast school. And in Northeast, those children and parents were still walking their kids to school the next day. They were expected to finish school the same day. And when I drive through there, I could not believe that there was not an ANC commissioner.
Mm.
There were not families. The same thing that we saw on Connecticut Avenue, not happening in our neighborhood.
Right.
And that's something Ms. Blackwell, she started this whole ball rolling when she started talking about that we need to come out in unison. You
Yeah.
know, and Ms. Blackwell,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I cut you off a little bit, but you was alluding to, how important it is for us to go to those groups where you
To the
at.
council meetings and to the committee meetings, it's important to get involved at that level as well. Because what they're doing is they're doing planning and they're strategizing. And they're saying what's going on in the community and what resources the people are not getting, they can kind of ask for it at those meetings to say they want this and they want that. This is happening and that is happening.
Yeah.
But if people don't show up at the meeting as well and then don't vote, they have no voice.
And this is everywhere, y'all, for
Mhm.
the viewers. This is everywhere where our people are, and this is strategically done.
Yeah,
You know, this is not a happenstance.
right.
This is strategically done, been going on for years.
But there's a part of that from the strategic standpoint that does not belong to those with power.
Oh no, no.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, like you talk about these committee meetings,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So if I'm an average Joe sitting on my porch complaining,
Mhm.
Go ahead.
at the same time I'm complaining, hollering at the kids, yelling at the police for not doing their work and all that. Down at the building, there's a meeting going on.
Oh, we get it.
Wait a minute. I don't know nothing about it
Come on,
because
come on,
I'm not
come
getting
on.
off my porch.
Yeah,
Right,
come on.
right.
I'm not reading the paper. It's not advertised at the level in my community.
Come on.
And I don't have transportation there.
Come on.
There's a lot of things that
Right,
keep
yeah.
me from being involved because I'm detached.
But now,
Yes.
but
So-
now we're trying to tax.
Well,
Right.
that's
Well,
what.
hold on, let me finish. So whose job is it to keep me attached? Is it my job to keep me attached? And that's just informed.
Right. Go
Because see,
ahead.
you can tell me, but you can say, hey, boo, is a meeting on Thursday about what's gonna go around in the corner, but it's downtown. Well, I ain't got no car. I don't got no way to get there. I don't know the Zoom information. I don't know. I'm asking, whose job is it? Is that not where the ANC comes in?
That's
Is that not where our I know you guys don't have ANCs up there, but you have what they call it, Danielle, up there, the local committee guy, similar to the ANC.
People.
Like
Committee people. We have committee people.
Right, your community organizers, things of that nature.
But
See, the
activists,
problem is
advocates,
priority based, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about, I did a lot of community work, right? So when you think about community work, unfortunately, it's governed by those who are selfish and self-centered.
Yeah.
Most of the work that's done is done by individuals looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
We do
Right.
have in Washington, D.C., we do have some very good ANCs that are very involved with the community. They reach out to the advocates that have a broader reach within the people, but then there are some areas that don't get the attention, as you
Is
say.
that the ornaments they used to have?
Ornaments, that's what I was looking for, the
Yeah,
ornament. So
yeah.
check this out though. When we talk about looking back on our history as people of color,
Mhm.
when we were most active, we had the same structure.
Mhm.
City council people, community organizers, ANCs, aldermen, all of those. But the most reach out was done from the church,
Mhm.
right?
They were acting
The
like-
church was the front line community voice.
Yeah.
Okay, so now watch this. When you looked at the civil rights movement,
Mhm.
you looked at the anti-war movements, even today with the anti-abortion movement
Mhm.
or the pro-life or pro-choice, whatever way you stand on it, it all feeds out of that church space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What we've have gotten in the black community is our churches have changed. Now I'm gonna put the blame where I believe it rests at, right? It rests with the individual.
Mhm.
So we got detached from our religious basis because we're no longer seeing them as a part of our daily lives.
Oh, the community.
We got these mega churches that feed those who walk through their door. We got the small church trying to survive because they got mortgages to pay and so forth and so on. Then we got these pastors that aren't in the business of pastoring. They in the business of running the business. You dig?
Yeah.
They running businesses at the church. Church got school, church got daycare, church got this, got that. And the pastor's the CEO of all of that.
Mhm.
So if his hands are so full with that, and he got a ministry that should be out there servicing and putting out the word, some of that disconnect is not there. So as their memberships dwindle, because trust me, religion is dwindling.
Mhm.
We got more atheists and more agnostics pronouncing themselves, which is great. Serve yourself, serve your God, I don't care, right? But just understand something. You have a personal responsibility that if I'm detached from something that's going to attach me to what's going to make my life better, then it's my job to attach in a different way.
Yeah.
So it starts with me and ends with me. That's man in the mirror.
So,
Real simple.
Ms. Blackwell, Ms. Blackwell.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question, and this is also for Mr. Hill too. So, what is it after you get in your position when we was talking about being detached and certain people are not able to be able to get the information? What is it that you bring to the community to really enforce that? And if Ms. Blackwell, if you would answer that question first, and then Mr. Hill,
Sure.
but what is it that you bring to the community to convince to let people know that I'm still canvassing for you
Mm-hmm.
and to do the things that you need to do?
So sometimes I do community cleanup. The community cleanup help out a lot because it's visible.
Okay.
Then with the community cleanup, I not only post those cleanups on the internet or social media, I actually go out and I knock on those people's doors, and we put a little sign on the door with like a little blue tape. This way, they get the message.
Yes.
And you do certain cleanup, and then you get people in the community to help you put those cleanups on the doors because everybody is not on social media. Everybody
Yes.
don't have a computer.
I
Everybody is
love
not
it.
on Facebook. So we actually go out and knock on those doors and get the people to come out.
So you
It's the
saying,
old-fashioned way.
if you want my vote, you gonna knock on my door. You
That's
should
right.
knock on my door also when you want my life to get better.
There you go. But that's what she just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Blackwell, I love that.
Yeah.
That's what you just said.
Now, what we have here
Right.
on this panel, on the Man in the Mirror panel, we got a mom right here.
Yeah.
So this we are Southeast.
Mhm.
This is Southeast Washington D.C. They can speak to what's going on in the community. Can speak to
Come on, Amy. Let's hear from you.
Actually,
Yeah.
Talk to that man right there. That's your city councilman candidate at large. That
Well-
means for the whole city.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
That's correct.
to be a little bit candid,
Yeah.
I was actually managing Aisha Howard. She was running for DC City Council at large. In 2019, it was really rough. It was the cusp of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't do the footwork. We couldn't do because we were all stuck in the house.
Yeah.
So kind of, so as far as the political aspect of it, I'm a little, I know some little things here and there,
Mhm.
but as a parent, or as a female in Southeast, that shops, that, pays bills, that, and all of that, let's start with the grocery stores for an example.
come on, man.
The food desert.
Not only
Dangerous.
who,
Going to the store.
Not
no,
what he just said,
no,
the
no,
desert.
no.
Yeah.
That too, but part of the desert, I think it's because it's the whole responsibility behind it, the business and the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if y'all been following my pages and y'all seen where I would randomly post stuff. I'm in the grocery store and I'll post a picture or something, but I'll see it burns me up when I see somebody put some raw meat in the cereal aisle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then guess what? The person shops back their food, they're gonna shop it back. It
Mhm.
could have sat out there for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll go back onto the meat section
Mm-hmm.
where I'm gonna buy it and take it home to my family.
Mhm.
And probably get salmonella poisoning, who
Mhm.
knows? Or the company just don't want to take that shrink. They get like a month stipend. I mean, not stipend, but it's like they have a certain amount of monies that they can't exceed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's food shrink,
It's a
that's all
loss.
that food
Mhm.
loss and everything. Meaning, at the same time, I could have bought that meat. I
Mhm.
could have ate that and made a meal out of it and all of that. But because it's wasteful, it just burns me up to see that. And people, the consumer, they don't realize the damage that they do when they don't want that pack of chicken and they just roll it over in the diaper section.
Mhm.
Like, be responsible. Put the food back, at least in the refrigerated part of the
Yeah.
store. And then the business, where are your employees?
Yeah.
Why are they not cleaning the stores? Why are they not sanitizing? Why are they not shopping back like at a certain time frame.
So,
The-
so
these
go
are
ahead, go
these
ahead.
are some of the things that a lot of the people in DC in the Southeast region, Ward 7, Ward 8, have experienced. And there's been a great need for new grocery opportunities for a long time.
And
When
Lido
we-
just opened up.
Yeah, Lido just opened up.
Mhm.
I'm thankful, and it was good to see that. I was there for the ribbon cutting, and it was full this morning. But to answer the question, what is it that I'm going to do? And it's going to be the same thing I've done for the last 7 years. For the last 7 years, I've managed what we call food distribution to the less fortunate people. Started out 7 years ago, and for 5 years, I spent, as a business owner, I spent my money purchasing the goods and taking them around to low-income seniors and families. But here's what it has done: it put me in a circle of where I now have partnerships with other distributors to bring that food to even more people. And so every Sunday for the last 7 years, we load up the van and we pick a seniors community to go to. But here's how it's changed: the cost of a gallon of milk is more than a gallon of gas.
Mhm.
And those who we would have seen before not needing help, middle income,
Come on.
need help.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I pull up to a seniors facility looking to help all of those who are low to no income, and everybody in that building needs help.
Yeah.
And so we increase the number of goods that we bring, and we target that community to make sure that they get fresh fruits and vegetables. Sometimes it includes the meats if they have it, but breads, all sorts of fruits and vegetables. And that's where I have a chance to speak to you face to face.
Right. And that makes
That's
that
where I have a
difference.
chance to enlighten you to what's getting ready to come down the street.
Right.
Did you know questions?
Right.
Did you know this?
Right.
Did you know that our schools were 41 out of 51? Did you know that there were 13 council members that decided to defund MPD and cause this city to go into a downward spiral of public safety? And some people don't know. But this is what can cause them to be actively involved in this process, because those who were involved in changing the quality of life and safety for you need to go.
Yeah. So what I want to add is that was one of the things that we could say about Myron Bird. He was very active in coming out and communicating with the people. It was very seldom that you find him that he would sit back. He got caught up in the situation based on the fact because of the way that he got out. And it's important that individuals, when you're in office, to continue to do that, and Ms. Blackwell as well, to communicate with the people so we understand, because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said Murray Burns' name. Mayor for life.
Mm-hmm.
Caught with drugs, all that besmirchment, but still was able to rebound and come back and hold the titles mayor for life. Every mayor since then has to give him some recognition
Yes.
just to keep the populace in line. Now, let me just say this. Like any good corporation, your communication plan is key.
Mm-hmm.
Any campaign,
Yeah.
your communication is key. Any office that you run, Ms. Blackwell, your communication plan is key. One thing that you said about Burry was in the community a lot as a face, but he knew he didn't rely on the ANCs
My man.
and the
Come on.
aldermans and things to
Yes.
get out there.
Yes.
He did it.
He did it himself,
He did it.
Yes.
which made him have a direct connect to the people, which even when he went through his trials and tribulations, the people
People
never turned his
turned
back
on him.
on him
Come
because he
on.
made their lives better when he showed
showed
up.
up. Thank
and
you.
on that point, Nate, you just gave me a segue into what I was saying over here, stewing on. We said at Man in the Mirror, we're solution based, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we hear all the issues and everything. But here's something that's real simple. And I heard Ms. Blackwell is doing some of it right now. She says you go out talking about cleaning up.
Mhm.
See, I believe, I always say this, so you can take it how you want it. I say God gave it to me. Well, a while back in the arena I work in, you know, I was thinking, I said, just go live in projects. It don't have to be dirty.
That's
Right.
Me and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
There you
Like,
go.
like we can beautify it,
Yeah.
because you feel better when you're in an environment that just look better.
Mhm.
And we should be educated. There should be maybe like a place to go in each community where we educate the parents.
And that's important.
Where we educate them, not education as the school education, education in how to conduct yourself.
Meet
Yes.
you where you at.
Yes.
It's your standards of living. Like I'm gonna intercept real
Go
quick.
ahead.
So years ago, I used to live in Simple City. So
Me too.
yeah, and the thing about it was, you remember the scene on Coming to America?
Yeah.
They was in the hotel room and they had the jacuzzi
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
was decked out.
Yeah.
So you would have to go through a piss-filled hallway, broken liquor bottles, all that, get through all that to come up to the third floor. And you're like, God damn, she got a lover, she got a screen, TVs on the wall. Like, it's like, oh wow, you live, this your property. Yeah, because I work hard for what
You
I
take
have,
pride.
regardless of where I live. Even around there, I was paying full market rent because they had to go by my salary what I was making. Because even at that time, I was still in it. I work now. I work for 2 laboratories.
Okay.
I work for the NFL now, and I manage 2 music artists.
Good.
You know, but even then, I was still in the medical field, and I still had income. And people that lived where I live, I would leave out for work. They're sitting outside. When I come home, they're still sitting outside. And I would hope that what I projected out to others, instead of them saying, you know, things like, oh, she thinks she's better, I would hope that something rubbed off on somebody to say, regardless of where you live in, regardless of what your situation is, that you can uphold yourself to a certain standard. You can still strive for greatness, and do what you got to do to get out of your situation, you know. And this is very depressing to see.
Well, let me just say this before you jump
Yeah.
out there, Fred. There are so many programs in every municipality of help, right? Now, how do we get introduced to these programs? Let me tell you how we get introduced to them. First of all, they're not advertised. Our elected officials, unlike Miss Blackwell, now Miss Blackwell just sent me a flyer to come help clean up in Philly, right? Then she sent me a flyer to come to a movie night in the park in Upper Darby,
That's right.
because she's one of those people that go out into the community. Hold 1 second, Miss Blackwell. Yeah, I got you. Man in the mirror.
What's happening, baby?
All right, who we got on the line?
Mike Jackson.
Oh, Mike Jackson. This is Senator. Say it right, Mike.
Senator Michael Jackson.
The Senator Michael Jackson calling in. All right, Mike. I'm gonna bring you into a conversation, Mike. We got in on the panel, we got Mr. Fred Hill, DC Council at Large candidate. On the other line, we're gonna bridge you in. We have Miss Danielle Blackwell, who is the first African American city councilwoman in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philly. So hold the line. I'm going to bring you guys back in.
So while you bring
All right. So now I got Miss Blackwell that on the line with us, and we got Mr. Michael Jackson, who's a senator in the state of Maryland. So welcome to the call.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
We're gonna give you.
Good evening.
We're gonna give you one. We're gonna make before we give you the introduction, Mike. We're gonna make this one comment.
One thing. The overall, because Nate never said we usually have an overall theme, right? But it's been obvious what the overall theme is now. Being the person of change.
Change you must,
Or being a person of
you
change.
live.
Be the
Because
change you want
be
to see.
the change you want to see.
Yeah.
And that's very elegantly said.
All right.
We're gonna
So-
go with that one.
All right.
Mike Jackson, give us a rendition of who you are, what you're doing, and how it is for you today in this political climate.
Good evening, everybody. Michael A. Jackson, Prince George's County, Maryland, where I live. I represent 3 counties in Southern Maryland. Prior to that, as a state senator, I've been a state senator for 2 years, appointed to the seat of late State Senate President Thomas V. Mike Miller, who was the longest serving Senate President in the history of this country, something we will never see again. And prior to that, I was a state delegate, and prior to that, I was the sheriff of my county of almost 1 million people. Prior to that, I was in my United States Marine Corps. Look, I think
Simplify.
the opportunity is now. Hoorah! Look, I think the opportunity is now for us. The stars have lined up for us like never before, and we have to take the step to. Somebody said it earlier, be the change we want to see. And it's easy to do. We know nobody other than us knows how to deal with the stripes that we've dealt with, and we've still been successful. We just need to take that next step to be the leaders in every facet of our lives, and in our community, in our government, and in the business world. And so we can make sure we're taking care of everybody, and especially us. So I'm happy to be here, and I want to hear what everybody else has to say as well.
I'm glad you said that, Mike, and the historical nature of what's happening right now, right? So you look at, we got women mayors all around the country. We got LGBTQ plus folks around the country. We got businessmen stepping in to become political figures. And in the state of Maryland right now, if things go as we want them, well, I don't know how you feel, how I want them, we're going to have a Black governor and a young lady of color from Indian descent, hopefully, as the lieutenant governor, which would be a first for the state of Maryland with Wes Moore and Aruna Miller. I think
I am all with that.
Excellent. Now, I
am all with that, and I'll tell you. Let me just say this, because you are a businessman, Nate, and I'm sure there are other business folks on the line. Every once in a while, government. I came from the electronic world. Every once in a while, government. When government's always the last to respond to the change of the people it represents. Always. But government also finds itself every once in a while. I've served at, local, state, and now on a legislative side. Government also finds itself, sort of in this mediocrity realm, because the world's going to turn every day. Government's going to, do what government does. But you know what? A business person like Wes Moore and others across this country are what we need at this time, because we need that sense of urgency for service. The complacency is, complacency, mediocrity, that breeds failure. A business person understands the sense of urgency to get it done, because for folks that are in the business world, if you don't make it, you don't eat, right?
That's right.
I think we're right. I served with Aruna Miller in the Appropriations Committee in Annapolis. She's excellent. And I think, Maryland has been in the forefront for a lot of things in this world. Now it's time for us to take our rightful place, and to be the one to set the tone here. This is the 3rd time in a row, by the way. We try to have a Black governor, by the way. The 3rd time in a row. And I think we're going to get it done this time. So.
Well, I certainly hope so, Mike. And I'm glad that you made that statement about the newness of leadership, having a business person in those seats. Because what I do know from being a business person myself is not only the sense of urgency, but the personal dedication to success, right? That don't succeed, can't eat philosophy is not just born off of your income. It's an innate part of your DNA as a business person, right? Because it's true. Sure. If you're not successful in business, you're definitely not living anymore, right? In that sense. So, Mr. Fred Hill, I'm not going to tell you guys connection, but Fred, you know who Mike is. So from my dad, my stepdad, Donald Hill, is loosely related to Mike Jackson and definitely directly related to Fred Hill. So I think you guys got some cousin things going on here.
We
That's
all
what it
came
is
off the
going
same
on
farm.
here.
Two,
somewhere
three.
along the
Yeah,
line.
we all came off the same farm. But
You know what's funny about that?
Right.
On this platform,
yeah.
that's why I always say it's God got it. On this platform, we have so many people that's connected to us in blood or relation
Uh-huh.
that's actually doing something. And everybody's talking about people pulling together, pulling the same way.
Mhm.
Because basically that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting a strategic plan and implementing it together.
Mhm.
So, and if I would be able to just, we want people to know when we do programs like Man in the Mirror, y'all got to understand these are the times which you got to take this serious. We may not be the major platform, but we are yet. But my point I want to make is we are trying to make a change,
Mhm.
and we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And these gentlemen, many
And
out.
lady.
And the woman, Miss Blackwell, we got y'all now that making a change. But see, this is just like this platform needs to grow. We need to grow you.
That's
We need to put you in a position so that I can walk up to Mr. Hill and say, Mr. Hill, how you doing? This is what's going on.
Yeah.
And you can come to me and you can say, you know what? The reason why your child is having these issues is because you need to go to this program to learn how to teach your child something else.
Conflict resolution.
Yes, there you go.
Behavior health.
Now I got one thing for Mr. Jackson. I know you just coming into the call, but we were talking about community involvement, Mike. And I know
Yes, sir.
from there's layers between, a senator and down to the normal person walking the beat on the street, right? There's some layers there, right? Unlike like an ANC, an alderman, or someone in community based that's kind of like walking it every day. What's it like for your office as a senator to actually engage with the community directly? What is that like?
Well, it's quite dynamic. Look, as I mentioned earlier, I represent parts of 3 counties: Southern Prince George's. I'm used to Prince George. We're all rooted in the big county. Northeastern Charles County, who is making some serious strides out here. They have now been entitled the richest black county in the country. And then Calvert County, which is a conservative county, and so I have 3 contrasting counties. So we work tirelessly. I am on a phone call right now outside of the Calvert County Fair. So I've had to visit 3 fairs over the last couple of weeks. But we are determined, regardless of whether it's a conservative community, an unaffiliated community, or Democratic community, or liberal community, whatever it may be, we provide service. I don't know anything else but service.
Hey, Mike,
We're donning a uniform. I know nothing else but service. So what we do is we engage folks where they are to find out what their needs are, and then work on providing those needs for them.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you something. Because family is very important, and it starts from that's the foundation.
Family first, brother.
Yeah. You ever heard of the Dorsey family out there, the Dorsey Park and all that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's my wife's family. That's my wife's
man,
family.
yeah, I think we are clicking somewhere, brother.
So that's my wife's family. I come out there for their family reunion every year. They have their own park, Dorsey Road, and all kind of stuff out there. And they do a family newsletter. We get a family newsletter, and stuff like that is strategically family ordinated based and tradition. See, like next month, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. The next month, we're gonna talk about the importance of legacy. See, like a lot of these things we don't think is important. We talk. There's no quick fix, but there are some strategic, basic stuff that we need to start doing. That's why I was talking about educating the parents. We keep talking about the kid. The kid, yeah, we're gonna educate the kids, but the parents got to reinforce the education. So we need to educate the families.
Well,
I can tell you, I'm one of the things. If I don't mean to to cut in because I got, I'm at
No, go,
but-
go,
go ahead.
Let me just say this to you. So when I grew up in the heart of Prince George's County in the Beltway. We're from a farm family, as you all know, from up in Marlboro. Grew up there, and I qualified to go to a school to do electronics. The first thing I recognized when my counselor, who probably saved me from whatever, but when she pulled me from lunch and she said, "Come to see me, Michael, after lunch, so we can do your schedule for high school. You've been accepted. You have to do your schedule, your electives, and all that, in addition to your electronic classes." The first thing I noticed, ma'am and gentlemen, was that school then did not have Black history. That's the first thing I noticed. My sister's school, Suitland High School, had Black history. I was reading her books. She was 3 years
Susan
ahead.
Graham.
The first thing I
Okay,
knew, and so
Susan
we have systematically allowed ourselves to not have an origin. So,
Yeah.
when you talk about legacy, we got to find out what our origin is, and then, that's that foundational component.
I
Exactly.
love that. I
Now,
love
Miss
it.
Blackwell, you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm
All
still
right.
here. Thank you.
So what do you think about that whole educational piece that's needed?
I think that it's very, very necessary. As a matter of fact, I would even advocate and go even further to say that by the time the kids are in first grade, they should be learning about biology and history as mandatory. Because once we learn about biology, then we maybe can decrease, I don't know if we can decrease disparities, but we definitely can let people know that all the blood is the same. Everybody can know that the blood type A is a blood type B, and know where it comes from, the melanin in the skin. And if we start early teaching biology and history, then people learn automatically to appreciate one another, so they can understand that there are real contributions from everybody. So that's a major flaw because it's not learned early enough.
This is good stuff, y'all.
Hey,
And it-
I'm
and it should
sitting here.
also be
Go ahead,
teaching
Mr. Hill.
politics
One
in
of
high
the,
school.
One of the things that I'm calling for that we don't see in Washington, D.C. right now is that as our young are going to school, we don't have the opportunity that we see much of, like what's going on in Virginia, where they're going to school and they're also in college, have the opportunity to start their college courses at the same time. This better prepares the young that when they finish school, they come out not at a minimum wage position, they come out earning a living wage. They come in a position better prepared than where they are right now. We don't see that in the DC schools. Part of that problem is that we have the schools managed by the mayor right now. And when we see that the teachers right now, I'm calling for the teachers, the cooks, the janitors, the staff of public school system to get a 30% pay raise. And that scares the heck out of a lot of people when you're used to seeing a 2% or 4% or 12% over 4-year time. But the 30% pay raise puts them in a position to do a couple of things. Number one, they become eligible because they're in that category or that income level that they can become homeowners. They reach the average median income, which then it gives them entitlement to some of the first-time home buyers program. So you could get up to roughly $200-some thousand in HPAP, and then you also have up to $90,000 as a DC government employee. The second thing that it does is it puts us back in the community, those educators back in the community of that where they teach. They are part of that community of the children that they're teaching. You spoke of village earlier. The police officers need that 30% pay raise because they then also can qualify to be in that average median income. Our fire emergency staff, as well as our sanitation workers.
And healthcare.
And so I say this because most people miss the opportunity to recognize that this is one of the ways that we can make housing affordable instead of unaffordable. The most recently, the government said that if you're a DC government employee, you can live in Ward 9. I mean, Prince George's County, Charles County,
Ward
St.
9.
Mary's,
You said it right.
Yeah.
St. Mary's
All right.
County.
Ward 9.
So you can
Yeah,
live.
yeah.
That's Mike's area. Yeah.
Mike, you on Ward 9?
You can,
I'm in Brandywine, baby, but I'm there. I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
But you know what? Even by you saying that, those professionals are earning a living.
Mhm.
And guess what? Their salaries go back into where they live.
They spend money where they live.
But the services and the food and the things that it has to be of quality.
That's right.
Like for example, I live in DC.
Mhm.
I work, Washington Commanders,
Hmm.
and I work in Virginia for the 2 laboratories.
Hmm.
I don't work in DC. I live in DC.
Hmm.
My money, some of my money goes to DC, but a lot of my money I spend outside, and I so want to support where I live, but the quality of food, the quality of the services has decreased.
Right.
So I would rather go to Virginia to go grocery shopping. That money could have went into the economy in DC.
But see, we got a councilman, right? Senator. We got
Councilman at
councilman
large,
at large. We got a
city councilwoman,
city councilwoman.
and a senator.
See, and this thing got to go higher.
Mhm.
See, and you know what I'm getting ready to go to.
Mhm.
This thing got to go higher because this is strategically done. This is not by happenstance. I'm telling you, look, I live in College Park. I love going around to where I live at and go to the shopping center.
Yeah.
I wish I get home
You
sometimes.
got choices.
Right, I got
Mhm.
cause them people live around it.
And they not gonna pay that.
But listen what I'm saying.
yeah,
Them people live around it.
yeah.
No.
You know, Dave Chappelle is one of my favorite comedians. But he said something on one of his shows that was so profound that people take it as a joke. He said, people misconceive that I come from DC. He said, no, I'm from Silver Springs. He said, my parents made just enough that I could be poor among the whites. And what I'm saying is,
Right.
it's strategically, distributed to certain areas.
It
Well,
is-
it goes back to a tax base, though. Let's be realistic. We can point to all of the racial dichotomies and the differences and all that, but it all boils down to money. Okay, if I don't have the income necessary to facilitate what's needed in my environment, my environment suffers.
Mhm.
It only gonna get what I can pay for,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So as you were alluding, if the income prowess was a little higher, the quality of life will increase with the income. That's just
It has to.
that's a natural
It has
happenstance.
to.
Let me
It's
ask
a
you this,
natural
like,
habit. So let me finish my point.
Mhm.
So when you look at people of color, historically, we've been on the bottom rung of the income ladder.
Mhm.
Even when we make strides as entrepreneurs, business owners, and the like, even as we become more educated, we leave the neighborhoods where we're from because we don't have the understanding that the quality of life follows you. If we stayed in those areas and contributed to their well-being, as they did back in the early days
Mhm.
when we could not move out,
Mhm.
when we were totally redlined and had to make the Black community work,
Mhm.
I'm talking 70s,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
We had a different quality of life. Now that we have the ability to somewhat relocate to where our money can take us, we haven't been educated economically to understand that our dollar base, wherever it's being spent and housed, will change the quality of life of that environment. We don't have that level of economic education.
In Washington, D.C. right now, there's a known fact when we look at how the dollar circulates in the community. In certain communities, and I'm speaking of ethnic communities, the dollar will circulate 11 to 12
Mhm.
times within their community.
Mhm.
Within our community, it doesn't circulate. It's gone after the first time we spend it.
Mhm.
When we go and we spend our money to the local corner store that's owned by someone
That takes that
outside,
money
He
to
takes it
Virginia.
out
Right.
to
Virginia,
Right.
go to Maryland,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
That's what it
The
is.
small businesses that we have in the city are not supported by our own people.
That's
They're,
what it is.
Yeah.
they're
Well, that's what I
And
mean
that's
by
the
the
part that
economic
I don't wanna do.
education.
I want my
But-
money to be spent in DC, but DC got to make sure that the services is there for me to want to buy.
Now,
So wait a minute.
I misunderstood
but-
him though.
But I
Mhm.
want to add something to all this.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to everything here, and I'm just sitting here because we got to start with us, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't know, you don't know. So you can give somebody a 30% increase, right?
Mhm.
But if they never had that, they still don't know what to do with it.
They need financial
They-
literacy.
there
That's
you
what I
go.
mean by
So,
economic
yeah,
education.
so that's it. There you go.
Marshall Heights and
That's what I meant by
Financial
education.
literacy.
Right,
they have-
right. What do you call it?
Oh,
Say it
so-
again.
Go ahead, Mike.
So look, in Maryland over the last few years, we have finally gotten to the point. It started. Delegate Jay Walker, was when I joined the legislature in 2015. He had already been on that road to work on our education system to ensure across the state of Maryland and Prince George's County in particular that we would incorporate a financial literacy component to our curriculum. For our young folks to understand all that we're talking about. And you're right, somebody said it, it starts with us, but, for those of us who have gotten to positions such as all the successful folks on this call, we have to demand that and demand more. Let me say this, last year, my committee, Budget and Taxation, just received, I call it a gift. I'm not sure if they know the gift that they gave us, gift of bringing the procurement subcommittee under us. And myself and Senator Melanie Griffith are two of the 3 or 4 members that are on that. And so we are licking our chops that we finally get an opportunity to learn the procurement world as it has been successful for some in the state of Maryland, but also to be able to extend that knowledge to our citizens. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent.
Here at Man in the Mirror, we want to make this clear. We're not anti anyone.
Right,
Anything.
right.
But what we do understand is just obvious. Obvious that the black so-called Americans need the squeaky wheel. So the squeaky wheel get the most grease.
Sure.
So yeah, but that's what we're discussing because it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Like Nate would say, we're gonna address the elephant in the room.
That's right.
And it's
And that's what's going on, and we gotta do it.
well, one of the things is again we got to get back to the thing that Ms. Blackwell was speaking about, and that's where you're really getting into the community, and that's what you was mentioning as well. When prior to us coming on the air, I was listening to your conversation. You was calling out some of the main things that need to be addressed, which is going to cause once you're in office for you to be hands-on,
Yes.
to be able to relate to these issues. With each one of y'all that's in office, and me as a voter,
Mhm.
I continuously plead to you to help us to become educated. It's not many of us that understands this process. So if you give somebody a 30%, okay, you saying I'm giving this because I want to help you, but if you don't know how to maintain it,
Yeah, that's right.
then
That's right.
it's going to go away.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an issue. But I want to finish this.
They
And
thrown it away.
but now what's really, really important is this. I think Ms. Blackwell said this as well. See, we got to start teaching our kids at a very young age about economics, about biology, about your history, about management of or purchasing homes. And I'm talking a little bit, and I want to share one more thing. I was serving at the Library of Congress, and I was doing this to make money, whatever. But this what really got me. I saw so many, and I don't want to make this a racial issue, but I'm gonna keep it real. I saw them bringing their young kids in there and shaking hands with the other politicians, but I didn't see none of us. None of us was bringing our kids.
Let me just say this. Education is the key. So then let's run this back.
That's right.
Public school education is where most people of color get educated. All right. After the 80s, economics was taken off the table as a class that you took in high school. It used to be a class in high school,
Yeah,
economics.
Sure did.
Not just home economics,
Okay.
but think about home economics, how to run your house efficiently.
Yeah, I needed to.
That was taken out. Economics was taken out. Here's a big one, Mike and Danielle and Fred. They took out government, right? They took out those civil related
That's right.
classes, civics was gone. So guess what happened? Guess what happened when they took civics out? Because I remember you used to have to take civics to graduate.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
So
Yes,
now
did.
you got this generation of individuals that don't even know how the thing works. They have no idea how the country that they are citizens of actually works. So if I don't know how something works, it's working against me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, from an economic standpoint, if I don't know home economics, how to break the bread, make the bread, take the bread, then we hungry at home.
Yeah.
If I don't know basic economics, how to earn a living, keep a living, manage a living, then I'm not living.
And if the parents
So
don't know,
Then
you can't just rely
then
on
the
the
children
schools.
aren't going to
Right.
know.
They're not gonna
So
know.
so
the
here we
schools.
are. We talked about food deserts. We talk about economic deserts. We're in an educational desert
Come on.
in America, period. So
Yeah.
now what's happening? You look at the conservative movement where they're going in now in some states and removing books off the shelf that don't agree with their cultural alignment. Okay. And you ask yourself why, right? Why do people do these things? You got to understand that the guy with the power sets the rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The
Right.
guy with the money, the power sets
That's
the rules.
Go ahead.
And the only thing that a powerful person wants to do is stay in power.
Power and control.
Okay. So you got to ask yourself, stop waiting for my turn,
Yeah.
right?
And create.
And take your turn.
Create.
Every
on.
day is your turn.
Yeah.
So if I'm not going to wait to have someone in my family die to do a GoFundMe, okay?
Yeah.
Or knock and call around the family when somebody I know sell life insurance.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait for Thursday or Sunday when the food people come around to get in line with the less fortunate because now I'm less economically sound. Now I done pulled up to lines and seen Range Rovers and Cadillacs in the food line.
Yeah.
Now I ask myself, they may be suffering a bit, but how much would it be? Maybe let their Cadillac go. If you're doing real fiduciary responsibility at your home, if you had home economics, if you had civil studies in school, today, I can guarantee you, if you walk up on a 20-something-year-old person, they could not give you the levels of government from the president down to their local authorities. As a matter of fact, they could not tell you the importance of what we're going through right now in these midterm cycles.
Yes.
They don't understand the importance. Everybody thinks the general election, 4 years, I got to vote for the president. Let me get in line. Guess what? That guy just merely sets the temperature for the country.
Right.
The real life-changing decisions, people like Mike, Ms. Blackwell, Mr. Hill, they make the decisions that affect our day-to-day living. I need to have the right individual working for my good cause that is closest to my day-to-day living.
Yes.
If you're not voting in the midterm, you're surrendering yourself to whatever happens.
Whatever.
So,
okay.
So everybody, all the viewers.
That's the education there, Nate. That's what we're talking about right there.
Thank you, Mike.
People who wait until the general election to vote, and they have no clue that the president does exactly what you said. Look, at the end of the day, you know, we are the ones that you can literally touch. We touch everything that's about us.
Yeah.
And but you said it. You know, if you don't have the origin, you know, you don't have the foundation. And then you find some other foundation to rock with, and the world is all well because that's what they wanted to do anyway. That's what they wanted to do anyway.
So let me also, I want to ask all three of you who's running for office, that's holding office. So a lot of times the young people don't look at you as regular people.
Right.
Okay. So this is each one of y'all. I would like for you to just give us a short synopsis of what is it that you can tell a young person that they would take an interest, just like you did, to get in your position? What would you tell them?
Let's start with the young lady, then we'll go to Mike, then we'll go to Fred. So Danielle?
So what I would do is I would first tell them, number one, it's money in it. They want to make money.
Okay.
In there, and you want to, and then if they want to have fun, it's lots of fun, but it is some work, and it's not going to always be perfect. But life is not perfect. But it's a good starting point, and it's a way to get into the game and enjoy and get in early, because you can make a difference early. Your life matters. Prove your life matters by being a part of the system. Don't let the system work for you. You make the system work for you and everybody else.
Let me ask you a question on that.
Hold on. Let Mike go then, and then we'll come back.
Let-
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, look, one of the things I've done at every level that I've served in is I take that time to touch folks. And, you talked when I got on the line about lineage, right? And we're all connected, man. Wayne Curry used to tell me, he said, Mikey, when you understand molecular structure, you will understand things. I said, man, I'm an engineer. I understand. Like he said, you ain't listening. He said, molecular structure means that everybody has a sphere of influence. And when you understand what Nate's sphere of influence is, what Hill's sphere of influence, you understand how and why things occur. And then you can put together a strategic plan to move in a direction that you need to. So we need to teach our young folks how to critically think, and how to observe, and how to be involved at every level of what they do. Because every day, guess what they do? They're involved in a political mindset of what the decision they make, and they work in a political realm. They just don't call it that. They just don't call it that. And we just need to let them know that it is okay to be a part of something that's going to end. Look, the everything that we do was brought about because some folks found a consensus that they felt was good for them. And that's what these young folks do every day. They just need to apply it where it's most powerful, as the young lady just mentioned. And you're spot on. You're spot on. That's where the power. Folks want power. You need to understand what that means. What power really means. Power means serving and giving to others, and you become the most powerful person around you. But we need to continue to work to get them involved. Bring in more interns from the high school levels to the legislature. Bring in more interns from our schools. Because politics has been given a bad name because we can't find our way in it, because we haven't learned from the beginning to go in that grind, man. You'll see these young folks, whether it's with the video games, where they can make money with that too, or whether it's playing ball, they definitely can make money with that. They need to understand from the long game, which is being of influence and making things happen.
Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Frank. Fred.
They just got to be introduced to it, because they already, the smart kids out there, they just got to be able to project it in the right direction.
I start with, and I do this currently right now. I start with showing them where I came from.
Come on, man.
So when you can see where I started from the dirt, I'm not so far out of reach for you. The other thing that I do, and I've been doing this for years, is that I mentor other people who desire to be in business. My successes have put me in a position where I can show them not necessarily the shortcuts, but the pitfalls. And that when they see those, they are better prepared on how to deal with it, how to handle it when it presents itself. And through that mentorship, we show them financial literacy, how to invest so that you're not always working for the money. You put yourself in a position where the vehicle you're using is put on cruise control. It enables you to do other things. And that's where I am right now. I've been put in a position where I got sick and tired of watching those people who we expected to be our leaders, to make the best decisions for the masses, not do it. And because my vehicle was already established, it gave me the opportunity to look a little more into how do we fix this problem? I'm a fixer. I'm a solutions-based guy. So when I see the problem, I don't just complain about it. I go to repair. And I show the young that this is the same way that you handle the conflicts you run into in life. It's not because whether or not it's $1 million opportunity or a $10,000 opportunity, the same measure applies. If we find out that there are those who are supposed to be representing us and protecting us. And I tell people all the time that the people who are sitting in those seats don't own those seats. Those seats belong to the people.
Come on.
Mhm.
And if the people found out that the person sitting in that seat was not doing what they were supposed to do, here lies the opportunity for me to change it. But there's a method of how you change it. You don't just go pick someone else because they're the lesser of the two evils.
Right.
You make an educated and calculated
Come on.
move to making sure you have the best person in that seat. And this is why right now I believe our movement in Washington, D.C. has surprised a lot of people. A lot of people thought I was just a porta potty guy.
Come on.
They thought I was just some small time business guy who was an angry bird, but they didn't find out that I knew a lot about housing and the mismanagement of dollars in the city and how my 25 years in business could help me identify that mismanagement and point to a solution for it. When we talk about, as you mentioned earlier, the educational piece and why I thought that it was so important about the pay, we got to also look at there are some family members and some parents that need to be held accountable to teaching their young.
Come on.
Everything. The city is not going to raise your children.
Come on.
There are opportunities that are there, but if those children are hindered from reaching for the opportunity because they have someone who is not willing to help lift them up, then we have to do something different in the city. Right now, our mental health challenges that in the city have gone through the roof because there's no investment.
Yes.
We have some family members that don't want to make the investment, and we have some that don't know where the investment opportunity is. And that's, again, that education piece that needs to come out. So the leadership that I see that is not serving the people well right now are missing a number of areas. When we talk about juvenile justice, the reform for that, there are some that would rather see, and these are elected officials, that would rather see someone who takes the life of someone unjustly, first or second degree, serve no more than 8 years. But nothing happens for the family who lost a loved one. See, if this person gets a second opportunity, they call it second chance. The family's not getting a second chance that lost a loved one.
Right.
And there
even
needs
if
to be
they-
the
I mean, it's
accountability.
But even with the second chance, the person that committed that crime, are they being rehabilitated? Or are they just sitting there waiting
Just
to get
sitting
out?
there. So one of those things that I was leading to
Took
is
all
that
that out too.
in our rehabilitation, in my order of rehabilitation should include the number one thing that we found that is kind of common with most juveniles and young adults is they don't finish school. They haven't learned civics, social studies,
Come on.
the math correctly,
Right.
the proper English
All that.
training, right?
You ain't
They
the right
haven't
person.
learned.
They stopped that.
When I was in the military, I served in the United States Air Force during the Lebanese War, and I traveled all 7 continents. And what really blew me away was when I traveled to the Asian continents. I met 4-year-olds that balanced the checkbook of the family, or they couldn't eat. So if we get ourselves in a position where we can better understand our responsibility as parents and guardians, and what we are on this earth to make sure that those who are coming behind us, our children that are coming behind us, need to be better prepared to handle life when it comes, then we will all be better. But there are some that are going to need their hands guided into the right direction. And that's where I don't see our leadership taking that step. I see them pushing a large group of people off.
So again, this is for all 3 of you. I'm listening to you now. So at this point, when you're holding your position and you're addressing us in the public, and if you can answer this, how will you now interact and get the kids to be able to want to pay attention to you and not just talk about the politics and the situation at hand? Because we already know the problem exists. But in order for us to fix it, we got to start teaching at a young level on how to start to address this. How would each one of y'all address that? Miss Blackwell.
Yes, I'm listening. I'm here.
No, I was saying, how will you address it when you're trying to now? What we got to do is once you get in office. So say I'm here. I'm 62 years old. So when you're talking, I know what I want to hear.
Mhm.
I know what I'm listening to. But what is it that each one of y'all going to bring to the table in your position that we're going to start addressing the children to get them to understand that you are there for them as well, and that you can lure them in to start to understand what is it that you bring to the table.
So what we
Ms. Blackwell?
You're breaking up there.
And that is what we teach.
Ms. Blackwell, we're having a little connection issue. Can you get to a better place for your connection? And we're going to go ahead and let Mr. Jackson speak to that real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, real quick. I appreciate that. Look, right now, currently, not only am I a state senator, I'm working in the Office of Homeland Security. We just had a meeting with some external partners, our school system, some community leaders, and some others to help to begin to educate our young folks on the opportunities that are out here for them right here in our county. To look at training up, be it a cadet program or an internship program or an apprenticeship program. We brought back $25 million for internships and apprenticeship programs, understanding that, tomorrow's leaders have to be bred right? I mean, one, you have to be exposed. The only thing that separates us is that we haven't been exposed to some of the things that others have. And what you talked about that 4-year-old, that's astonishing. Exposure is key.
Go ahead, Ms. Blackwell.
Can I just add that we do need more apprenticeship programs early. We need more leadership programs so the children are able to get involved early so that they can see what the process is, what they like, what do they dislike.
Yes.
And to help them, and more business programs to help them find their way.
Excellent. Go ahead, Fred.
I like, and the first thing that comes to mind is that when the Honorable Marion Barry was in office, he had a youth program that taught you public speaking. He had a youth program. Yeah.
My oldest son was a part of Marion Barry Youth Leadership.
The youth leadership program.
And I was an active parent, which I was
I'm glad you made that. I want to make a point when you finish.
They have programs, but they're so divided. And it bothers me so that we have a million different choices, but not really as driven as a group, as a unit. So it always shows division. And you have competition. And healthy competition is good. But competition as to whether or not this organization gets the grant to do everyone or another group gets the grant has been destroying the real opportunity and the learning for our children in the district. So, this thing of what I would continue to do is to make sure that they understand these are the steps we have to take to live, not be subject to what someone else wants, how they want to see us to live. You want to have a better quality of life. What does it look like to you? Find out from that youngster, what does better look like to you? And then you can begin to introduce them. What I used to do every year is I used to take 2 busloads of kids to West Virginia. And when I would take them to West Virginia, we would go fishing. Some of these kids had never even been past the stop sign on their block. But then what those kids learned, what I learned from those kids one day, we were riding on the road in West Virginia, and all the kids said, "Oh, look, 101 Dalmatians." And it was dairy cows. And we turned in, I asked the bus driver to turn into that farm. And we went in I went in and talked to the farmer and explained to him, I have a bunch of inner city kids that have never seen a farm. Can I bring them off the bus so that they can just get closer? And lo and behold, he had a petting zoo, piglets, chickens. He let the kids run. They didn't want to go fishing. They experienced something totally different that meant and showed them something that they may have seen on television, but now they can go back and report.
Mhm.
I milked a cow.
I did this.
You know,
Mm,
I know where the milk comes from.
Mhm.
You know, I saw the live chicken. You know, when now you have something to connect with dinner and as pets and as a life.
Yeah.
You know, I'll finish by saying, you know, it's funny that today I was watching a friend of mine. She has cats, and I was watching the cats, and the cats were trying to say something to me, but I couldn't figure it out. And animals know when a storm is coming days before it gets there. We got a storm coming from Ian right now, and the
mm,
animals had ate all of their food because they don't know they might not get to eat. What's wrong with us? We don't pay attention
Mhm.
to some of the lessons that natural wildlife can teach us time to time.
mhm.
But it comes from having that opportunity in that education system.
How about the signs of the time?
You know, I mean,
Being in
if you
tune.
pay,
Well,
if you pay
let
attention,
me run all this back, right? Terrence said something, Amy said something earlier, and throughout the panel. So, as a businessman, right, one of the things I do is create educational programs for youth,
Mhm.
right? There's been a known fact that people of color don't go into agriculture and technology at the rates that we would like them to.
Right.
So I just was involved in creating a program for one of these very large federal agencies. Can't speak of it because it doesn't start till October 1st, to actually educate individual children from the age of 8 all the way up to employment,
Mm.
right? All the research points to one person when it comes to educating a kid about anything. All of the programs you guys have mentioned, great fodder, just information.
Mhm.
The activity of a successful individual, like you talked about that 4-year-old, starts with the parent.
Yeah.
If you don't have a parent with buy-in, they don't have to be educated. They just have to be supportive. You can put a kid in any program you want, but if they don't have the support to stay in that program,
Mhm.
to be engaged in that program, they're going to get nothing out of that program. It's will become a babysitting scenario. So research bears out that whenever you create a program from youth, if you don't have parent engagement
Mhm.
as the essence of that program, it's doomed to fail, right? So the earlier we can get the kids engaged,
Mhm.
the earlier we need to engage the parents. Not so much like Amy said, she was a participating parent for her son in that youth program. Okay. Fred, you know how our parents work.
Yes.
They worked a lot.
Mhm.
I played ball all the way up to college. My mother has never seen me play a game. People said, "Oh, you got the skills to go on to the league." I never got there. My interest was not to go to the league where my skills could have taken me. I just did it to get out of the house and to be cool. It had nothing to do with that. But now that as a parent myself,
Mhm.
being involved in my children's lives at that early age, they've all excelled beyond my wildest dreams. And research bears the fact that if you build a program for youth, I don't care at what age you engage them, you got to have the parental buy-in because they're the ones who are their first teachers and their last teachers.
Mhm.
They're the ones who provide the opportunity to succeed, engage, participate. If I got a straight A student and I put them in ROTC and I put them on a path to go into the military as an officer and all this good stuff, but they don't have a parent that says that's a great idea,
Mhm.
it doesn't happen.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
And I don't want us to be redundant because that's what I was saying when I said God gave me this about teaching the parent. Because that's very vital. And I'm glad you drove it home.
Yeah, but see, the thing what I'm trying to get across, Terrence, is when we do programs, it's not so much, you're not going to teach an adult, right?
Mhm.
As easy as you'll teach a child.
I understand.
But the thing is, we're not teaching, we got to look at it as we're not teaching you the program or about the program. We need to teach you, as you were stating earlier, about what's our desire for you to make our program successful with your kid.
That's
right.
Exactly.
So this is the participation I need from you.
So
So we got to make them more so than teaching them, just make them accountable.
Okay, but that's why I'm telling it's the same thing. We all, and that's what we got to do. We got to come to agree. If I don't understand what you're saying,
Right,
I'm
right.
gonna say, man, what you're saying. I ain't
Right.
gonna say because you may hear it different.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're saying the
Somebody
same
with a
thing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
I'm
but
not saying the word teach. Take that out of it.
yeah.
They need to be reprogrammed so I can support my son and all that. But see, and I'm gonna tell you, and this is very vital. Stop battling against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the crab in the barrel syndrome.
Hmm.
And it's a plea to our people because it's so prevalent, and that's where we don't succeed at. Because if you come up with a good idea, right, I need to be supportive of that good idea. If this man is running for office, I need to come in there, and I done heard some good things from all three of the guests
Right.
and from the panel. But I'm gonna support you. See, because we come in with the fat one is against the skinny one, the light skinned one against the
dark
black one,
Hmm.
the tall one against
Against
the
the
short
short
one, and that is a cancer.
But that's
It's a
systemic.
cancer,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna tell you,
But that's a
nothing's gonna
learning
get done.
experience.
Yes,
Nothing's gonna get done
absolutely. And
if
it
we
runs
don't
deep.
dispose of that.
Well,
Well-
that comes from our leadership. That comes from the
Well-
leadership.
Well,
So
no,
go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
that comes from our DNA.
Yeah, it's been past
That-
that.
That's
It's
DNA.
been past that.
Now, let's remove the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
address that.
Let's address that elephant. That whole cultural experience that we live under and sometimes govern our thinking
Yeah.
as a direct result of the mind control necessary to make us free labor,
Absolutely.
what we call
Because
slavery.
slavery.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
It's been past
So
that.
Well, okay,
the only
but
way I can control all of you mixing people is to make you
Put
not
them
like
like
each
each
other.
other.
Put 'em up
Right.
against.
Yeah, because
Okay.
if y'all get together, how
Yeah.
can it's six of us?
There was
I can
always
remember
more
all that.
slaves than there were
Yeah,
slave
yeah,
masters.
yeah, I know.
Always.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same with politicians. There's always more
Well,
citizens
Then
than
it
there
is.
are leaders.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this.
This is
What-
why
what-
I say
Yeah.
the seats belong to
To
the
the
people.
People.
It say we
Right.
the people, don't it?
But
But hold on, with that thought in mind, Mike, listen out. With that thought in mind, the other day, we had the Republican candidate for governor go to Morgan State University. The first time one of those candidates went to an HBCU. Do you know why he went there? Because they were courting the black educated vote.
Mm.
Because they looked at the roles and said, wait a minute, they got some real stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
They got some registration going over there.
Let's get over there.
No, not to
For
get
the-
those
for the
numbers.
vote, for the
We
vote.
don't want the other folks to get the numbers.
That's right.
So we're going to do like most politicians do. I'm going to come to a church I ain't never been
Been to.
before. And I'm going to sit
And
down.
You know what's interesting about what you just said?
Yeah.
You know, Dan Cox served in the House when I was in the House before I went up to the Senate.
Uh-huh.
He ain't stupid.
That's
He
right.
might be a little different, but he ain't stupid.
He ain't stupid.
So he knows how much money, even though he didn't serve on the budget committees like I did, but he knows how much money was going up to Morgan State.
Uh-huh.
Morgan stepped away from the university system a long time ago to say, you know what? We don't need to be under the umbrella of the university system totally.
Right.
We can do our own thing and still be an affiliate when necessary, be a part of that when necessary, but that's on our terms because we have a school, and the Morgan State turns out more, you know, they're one of the schools that turn out more engineers in the country for
Right.
for blacks. But yeah, so Cox ain't stupid. He ain't stupid. And at the end of the day, if you guys are registering it, I might get hey, look, the sphere of influence is huge, right?
Exactly.
If I get Mike Jackson knows, Mike Jackson knows a few other folks, I might be able to get some other folks.
That's right.
You know?
That's
And
it.
what does it cost me to step up to a university and which is in the state of Maryland to say, if I'm your governor, I'm going to support the things that you guys are doing here. And in the meantime, somebody up there may say, you know what? That guy took his time out to come up here.
Guess
You
what
never know,
happened?
man.
Guess what
Never know.
happened?
They touched him.
That's
They touched
exactly what happened, Mike, because the reports this morning came back when they polled the university citizens, the students. They say, you know, we extended the same thing to West and Aruna. They didn't show. They
Wow.
chose not to come,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So
whoever
what
is
you
the
said,
advisor,
so what you said
you need to
was,
go.
when Cox stepped on canvas, he said, y'all lives are more important to me than them.
Yeah.
Than they think you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Not only did he just sway that campus,
right.
what he did sway was every person who attended an HBCU who's a citizen of the state of Maryland.
Mhm.
Come on, man.
That's what he just did. He tried to
Man, let me tell you,
move that
look,
needle.
look, and you are absolutely right, because guess what, man? How often do we take each other for granted?
Mhm.
Every
You
day.
know, we don't ask you. What do the people tell you? If you don't ask for the vote, I ain't giving you the vote.
That's right.
I mean, why didn't you vote for me? Because you didn't ask me for it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Dude, I thought you had me. No, I ain't got you. How you gonna know if I have you or not?
Yeah.
That's right.
Nah, you gotta make sure. You gotta make sure. And you know what? We can't be complacent like that.
Yeah.
And that's what it costs you. Look,
So
when we work our butts off to get to the point election day, that we sit back there and bite our nails. I know I have for over 20 years, biting my nails on how the voter's going to vote, because you are hoping that you did enough, and you are running over and over and over again in your mind what I did do, but more importantly, what I didn't do, and what I wasn't able to get to. Was it strategic, or was it just that I took folks for granted? And wow, that was great you pointed that out, because again, he sat right there and he knows exactly where the dollars in the state goes. He knows exactly where the desire of Dr. Wilson and his team up there, that dynamic team up there in Morgan are. And their job is to educate. And oh, by the way, he went to educated Black voters who understand economics, folks, right?
Yep.
They understand politics. They understand education. They understand how to, the things they want in life and the steps they need to take to get there. And whether we're politically liberal or a true household is run under a conservative mindset, because
That's
you gotta
right.
make sure that what I do now equates to what I need to had done for tomorrow. And so, no, that was brilliant on his part.
Well,
Brilliant
you know
on his
what?
part.
And also, representation means a lot. If I can't get to the masses, right, physically, if I can get to someone who represents the masses and
Like the
have them
church.
in line
Like the church.
with me,
Morgan
like the church,
Like it.
Morgan liked them,
Yeah.
which means what? Now, every educated
Voter.
Black voter
Right.
who was on the fence
Yeah.
may not vote.
They might-
They leaning.
Yep.
They can. I got to look at him
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Then they put out,
And look,
but Western
and-
Aruna
and-
didn't
and
show.
They also look at their options, man.
Yeah, man.
Look, I mean, Malcolm X said it best, right? Bullets or ballots, right?
That's
You know,
right.
Our
Ballot or bullet.
interests are always
Yeah.
our interests are always pushed back. Hey, man, I know you need this today, but I got another interest that we need to get this go round. We'll get you the next time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get you the next time. We're the only people. Folks died for this. Literally died
Yeah,
for our
literally.
right to vote, right?
Yeah.
We're the only people that every 25 years we have to go back for the. Are you kidding me? The Voting Rights Act?
Yeah, got to be voted back in.
How can you
That's gotta be addressed.
and we're the only ones that also fall for the okie doke, and I got to go here in a little bit, but we're the only ones that fall for the okie doke about, and look, the women's suffrage movement, let's be real about that. Let's be real.
Come
The
on.
women's suffrage movement was because the world was changing and the world began to watch as technology grew. They began to watch that beacon on the hill, that democratic stalwart called the United States of America, and how we were really treating people. We went around the world. I'm military. We went around the world, man. We know how to follow orders, and we know how to oppress people of color. And when the world said, and then we went into other folks' country and said, hey, you can't treat other people, your people like that, as we're taking their resources. But when technology began to give them some insight in what we were doing, we had to come up with a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, law enforcement grew during that period of time, and we need to treat people of color a certain way. Well, before we do that with those minorities, let's get our wives up here. Let's get our wives up
That's
here.
right.
Our sisters up here.
That's right.
Because I'm no longer the president and CEO of ManCan LLC. I'm now the chair of the board of ManCan LLC.
That's
My
right.
wife, Kim, is the president and CEO of that. That's women's suffrage. They got to vote before we got to vote.
Exactly.
So let's get that right. White
So-
man, white woman, Black folks ain't get it, and we still fighting every 25 years.
We diluting the process because, Mike, when you talk about minority set-asides in procurement, where I live, women are minorities.
Mhm.
They are a part of the people of color
Absolutely.
conundrum. White women get the same set asides that we get
Mhm.
as people of
Yeah.
color, but because they have that connection to the money, and what they do is, I'm Joe X, but my wife runs the company, like you just said, Mike. She's the president.
Yeah.
She the face. I'm the
Daniel Snyder's on
chairman.
with the Commanders
I'm
right
in the
now.
back. Yeah, the Commanders. Look at the football team. The wife run it
Daniel
because
Snyder doing it right
they
now.
want to take away from Daniel Snyder.
Yeah, and you said something. What I'm hearing is that you're talking about the strategy of castrating the black man.
No,
And
what you talking about is
what I'm talking about is like my wife is she's retired today. It's her last day in the federal government, 40 years. And I asked her,
Congratulations.
because I go down taking a lunch before, right? And I just take a gander. I knew anyway, but I got a chance to really see it. It's more black women down there.
of course.
Okay. And then
My wife's one of them. My wife's one of them.
I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
absolutely.
address the elephant.
Keep it 100. Keep it 100.
And then the black men just making those six figures and things like that. Maybe out of 100,
Absolutely, man.
maybe out of that 100% of the black men that's down there, probably 50% on gay. So we and there's not that many black men in those.
Now that's by design.
Yeah.
Right. But
Now,
that
now check it out. The ones who are in leadership is very, very few. Very, very few. And where they kill two birds with one stone, they hire a white woman as a minority. She runs this department or that department. And then they throw in a black woman here there. And then maybe one of those guys. You understand what I'm saying? And it's basically like
But see, that's a symptom of the problem.
it's a symptom
The
of it.
real issue is, and we talked about this in all our other shows, and we talked about it just a little bit. We talked about the DNA, right? Those in power set the table.
Yeah.
come on.
Okay, the table has always been set for those in power to stay in power.
Right.
It doesn't have much to do with, democracy is a majority based experiment, right? Majority rules. But that only worked when the majority was made up of those in power. Now those in power are becoming the minority over time,
So now
right?
fear set in.
No, not fear set in, strategic planning set in.
Yeah.
So
Come on.
what it is now I have to set up a structure,
Yeah.
right? I have to take the structure that I set up and make it lean
Lean.
towards my advantage.
Come on.
Yeah,
So
like once
so what
again-
happens is everything I do, the judicial system, voting rights,
Educate.
redlining, education, everything has to be set up strategically so
Keep me.
I stay in
in
Right,
power.
and
That's
that's
it.
absolutely correct.
That's
And,
it.
and what I was just using was that.
Yeah, that was examples.
that
Yeah,
example
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Because and like we said, we had nothing against whatever
Anyone.
the preference is or nothing. It's just stating a fact.
So can I add this? And that I'm listening to all this. Sometimes a lot of people who are listening may not really understand, but I want to break it down a little bit.
Come on.
Okay. If you have a dog and you take two dogs and you let them fight, right? Dogs are naturally animals that comes in groups. They pack
Packs.
animals,
Mhm.
right? So what you do, and I try to tell young people this, when you got two dogs and you have them that they fight, the gene it develops in the dogs. And as they move forward, you keep having puppies, and after a while, the puppies become aggressive.
Yeah.
So what we got is people that's in power. This was a long time ago that put us in position to put us just like they would do them dogs.
Mm.
And they would have
Love
us,
to one another.
yeah, that we have this embedded in us. And what we have to do is diffuse it
Come
and
on.
re-educate ourselves
That's
to understand that what you said, the one in power want to stay in power. So what he does, he starts to strategically making sure that what he attacks is the education, the financial, the communication, his family, all of these things that's going to bring to you.
All right.
the-
Man in the mirror. we talk about resolutions.
That's right. Right.
Okay.
That's
So let's talk about the resolution.
Yeah, let's talk
Okay,
about
let's talk about what we talk about. We talking about democracy, right? We talking about a fight. So if you look at Mike Tyson, one of the greatest hitters in heavyweights, the only way people beat him was to find out where his weaknesses
Come
were
on,
and
man.
explore
Come on,
them.
Nate. Come on.
Let's talk about democracy. The one thing that the disparate, downtrodden, disenfranchised, all those folks have in common, they got one thing, and Malcolm said it, the ballot or the bullet. Voting is critical.
Mhm.
The man in power only stays in power because he's not challenged to be
Come on.
powerful. Democracy allows us the opportunity to make changes from the ground up and top down
Yes, indeed.
because we have the ability as citizens. When they gave us that 13th and 14th Amendment, they opened the door to the catastrophe, which is today's reality in politics. They gave us that vote. But they put clauses in there that says if you go to jail, you lose the right to vote. If someone says
And
my
that's
vote
not
don't count,
absolutely
let me
Right.
finish. If your vote don't count, then why is your adversary always trying to change the boundary lines and gerrymandering so your vote can be squoze into these pockets where it's diminished? Why are they trying to disenfranchise people from voting if your vote don't count? You understand what I'm saying? The most powerful tool we have as an American citizen, unlike any other country in the world, is the vote. This is the season to exercise the only bullet in our gun.
Look at the camera and tell them that.
The only bullet in our gun. Malcolm said it's simple. He said the ballot or the bullet. But the reality of it is the ballot is the bullet.
That's right. That's right.
And if you really want to try to level the playing field, it don't have a whole lot to do with educating nobody. It don't have a lot to do with from the start of trying to grab these youth younger and depend on government's hand to
Get
come
out
in and fix things for you.
Get out there and vote.
If your quality of life needs to be different than what you're experiencing, get out and vote.
And on
It's
that,
real simple.
And on that, we said this earlier. Also, go down to
Those meetings.
Meetings.
Go down
And,
to those
but what's
community
going to happen
meetings.
when you go to the meeting? You're going to get information about who to do what.
Vote
Vote
for.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there
that's
you
what
go.
we're
You're
saying.
gonna find out who running
So
for
it
office.
It always
Right.
comes down
To the vote.
to
Right.
the vote.
So,
Yeah.
so that's what
That's
get
why-
down there.
That's why our people got hung on trees,
Yeah.
bit up by dogs,
Trying to
hit
get
with
the vote.
water hoses,
Mhm.
petted bridge. They got ran over by horses.
And you talked about the boxing. It's funny you said that. When we get ready to go, we had a guest last month that Rodney brought in, the Scarborough, Francisco Scarborough. He's gonna have a fight coming up on the 15th over live.
Right.
I'm supporting this guy. You know what I'm saying? And we got about, I think, me and about 6 more family members. We bought tickets, and he gave it to Skybox, and we spent over hundreds of something dollars for it. That's how we got to start doing little stuff like that to support one another. But you talking about the boxing, it don't have nothing to do with what Tyson gonna do across that ring.
Right.
But I need to, because we already know what he gonna.
We already know what he's gonna
We
do.
gonna know what he gonna do. It's about what we gonna do to counteract that so we can win.
I got to see his weakness.
Yeah, yeah.
My good trainer tell me, look,
Come on, man.
when he throw that hook, he drop that hand.
Come on.
That's when you count.
Oh, trainer.
Trainer.
These guys here.
These
guys
guys.
here.
So wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute. So Mike, Danielle, Fred, okay, they ain't the trainers. They the fighters. We the trainers. We're the ones that says these are the deficiencies in our lives, in our neighborhoods that we need you to fix.
Mhm.
We need to make you accountable, and we need to vote you either in or out. We need to stop accepting the status quo, right? We need to do our due diligence, go to those committee meetings. We need to stop picking people off of name recognition. I just saw you waving on the corner at the light
Yeah.
last week because I haven't done any due diligence on who's running.
Yeah.
I just saw your name, saw your face. So when I go into the booth, I say, oh, I remember that name, click, click.
Yeah.
And then
That's it.
6 months from now, I'm pissed
It's
off
all
for
because-
everything you're
right,
standing for.
Right.
Do you
right.
know? Do you know in
That's what we do, Mike.
in DC we have what
Now,
we
that's real,
call,
brother. The voters have short memories. Supposed to live off of that mantra.
yeah,
Hold up,
in
hold up,
DC, we
hold
have
up,
what we
Monty.
call
Go ahead.
the violence interrupters.
Uh-huh.
And the violence interrupter
DPR.
program have been pushed on to the people as being the next fix
Right.
for public safety. But I have never seen anyone, when they get in trouble, dial love, peace, understanding, or any violence interrupter. But everybody dial
You know I'm hip
911.
to that. You know I'm hip to
And when
that
they
one,
dial
right? You know I'm hip
911,
to that one.
they want some quick results.
Results.
When they dial 911, they want to see an ambulance
Come on,
to bring those
Fred.
services, right? And when we, as the people in the city, don't recognize what's presented to us as being a farce, we buy into that idea, and it leaves us further out of the reality of having what we need because someone in power said that this is the best thing for us.
So Fred, I'm gonna take you back. When you first started this thing
Mhm.
some time ago, we had a conversation about DC General Hospital going over St. E's.
Sure did.
And he was one of the people that stopped all that bull crap about it being a level 3 trauma center
Sure
and all
did.
that, because he brought the details of what the requirements were.
Sure did.
All that shit's changed,
Mhm.
right? So I'm gonna take it back to this. It's the ballot or the bullet, because the bullet is the damn
I had
ballot.
to interrupt. We running out of
Okay,
time,
right.
so I'm gonna have to finish it off to next time. Rodney, real quick.
No, what I wanted to say was to give each one of our individuals just, you got a minute.
Mhm.
But hey, Miss Blackwell, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, could you take just a minute and a half, just to just say, get the last words real quick. So, and then we want to have each one of y'all to just kind of say that, because we
Yeah,
get ready to shut
you
it
got
down.
1 minute. We shutting it down.
Now,
1 minute. So what I want to say is, one, get out to vote. Vote, vote, vote. We need your vote. Two, reform our education system.
Mhm.
Three, reform our criminal justice system.
Okay.
Four, make sure that we do something about our healthcare industry, because we need to work on it.
We're gonna have to speed it up.
All right, Mike.
All right, look, first of all, appreciate you all having me out tonight. Consider me one of your mutually beneficial partners, because that's the only way we're going to get anywhere if we all
That's right.
understand that we're all in this together. Look, make sure folks go out and vote. The ballot is the bullet. The bullet, I think we make what tomorrow is every day. And so we carry the blame with that, and we carry the success with that. So thank you all very much. Nate, love you, man.
Love you too, cousin.
Come on, Fred.
Go ahead, Fred.
Again, my name is Fred Hill. I'm running for City Council at Large in Washington, D.C. I am an independent. I am number 3 on the ballot. And I look forward to serving for the people of the city, citywide in Washington, D.C. Vote November 8th. If you're not registered, get registered. But make sure that you're active in this one, because you need to vote like your life does depend on it. Thank
Because
you.
it does.
Once again, it's been a great show.
Yes,
It's been a
sir.
great
Yes,
show.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And they try to use my government name all the time.
Did I throw you out there, man?
But we gotta be together on everything we do. It's been a wonderful show.
Yes, it has.
Nate Jenkins, it was his month, and he brought some great guests. And we just thank you guys for being here on Man in the Mirror. And let me congratulate and give flowers to my panel, to the hosts, Amy, Connie Chong, Allen, and Mr. Rodney Grimes.
Yes, sir.
And the distinguished Nate Jenkins. And I'm Boo Jones. And this is Man in the Mirror. It's the what, Rodney?
it's the show that matters.
Always,
All
always.
right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for calling in. Danielle, Mike, love you. Fred, love you as well.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you,
success,
thank you.
and let's vote, vote, vote. Let's
Vote,
keep these
baby.
people in office and get this
Absolutely.
man in office.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, partner. Have a good one.